Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Sever the Plot Thread, the podcast where we learn about writing and interview really cool creators. I'm Callum Quinn. I make the webcomic Siblings of Steel and run the YouTube channel Callum Quinn Creates. And with me today is a very special guest, Callum Stephen Diggle, who creates the comic Humanity Lost. Really cool comic.
That's me. How's it going?
It's going good, thank you. And how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Kind of tired, not gonna lie. Just been doing a lot of stuff around the house, and we just moved into a new. I guess I'll tell it again because we just
Mhm.
spoke for a bit before the recording. But
Yeah.
yeah, just got my first house, which is a huge thing. I didn't think I was ever going to own a house. I thought I was going to rent for the rest of my life. But yeah, we've got a house in the country, and just been trying to get everything in order. We managed to get the house for a good price because it was an old people's house before us and it needs a bit of work doing, but we're up for doing a bit of work. And you know, it's not easy for people our age to get a home. It's pretty hard, but this is the only way we can manage to do it. So I've just been associating and meeting all the neighbors, and they've been showing me around and getting to know them. So yeah, on top of that, working on the book. So I'm kind of tired. And it's a little bit late here in England, but yeah, I'm doing all right, doing pretty good.
Well, that's really good to hear. That's really exciting. Congrats on the
Nice.
house. So this episode, you just have such like an amazing world in Humanity Lost. Like the creature designs and the lore is so interesting. I kind of wanted to focus on just how you develop such an interesting and unique world, but I think we should start for our new viewers. What is Humanity Lost?
All right, where to start? Humanity Lost is a whole universe, really. It takes place in the fairly distant future after a calamitous war with a multi-species empire called the Conglomerate. And unfortunately, our species didn't favor too well in this conflict. And we didn't come out the other side of it. We created a AI to assist us in the war. And unfortunately, we were enslaved by it. And we became puppets on this AI called the All Mother's Strings. And she manipulated us into the very weapons of war that she is going to use to fight back the conglomerates. And fight back the conglomerate she did, but humanity was lost. There you go. There's the tagline. And so in the distant future, we follow the story of the last unaltered human as he travels through the galaxy, encountering all of its perils. And I'll leave it there, and you can just read the book if you want to know how that goes. And there's plenty of twists and turns. So that's a fair introduction.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
introduction. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It is really cool and exciting and interesting and a lot of other adjectives too. So, all right, so what were some of your inspirations for this story?
I think, well, there's a huge community online called the speculative evolution community, and there's lots of contributors to that. But when I was a boy, there weren't too many. There was Wayne Douglas Barlow, who I'm sure you're aware of, but for the viewers, he created Alien Planet, the book series called it's not a series, it's a single entry called Expedition. Actually, I've got a copy over here. Actually, it's this one, and it's kind of a book chronicling this exploratory vessel's journeys around the planet called Darwin 4. And it's filled with loads of lovely illustrations, some painted, some sketched, some pencil drawn. And as a young lad reading this, very, very inspiring stuff. And so I wanted to do something in the same vein. And then there was another show that came out in the 2010s called Extraterrestrials. Have you ever seen it?
I don't think so.
You haven't? Okay, well, watch it. You'll like it. If you like the aliens and Humanity Lost, you'll like this. I think there's only actually like 2 or 3 episodes, but they're really good. There's one called Blue Moon. If you just search extraterrestrials, Blue Moon, on YouTube. You might find something. I don't know if it's on there. It probably is. You can find anything on there these days. Yeah, check it out. Check it out. It's very cool. So there was that, and then obviously like other things like Halo. You know, the Halo game series.
Yeah.
Great games. Loved the books as a kid. Used to read them all the time. Is it called Fall of Reach? I can't even remember now, but the first one I used to read that over and over as a kid, and just the most awesome stuff as a young boy. So that was a big one. Probably most of the same influences as other people, really, like Star Trek, Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of wanted to do something different with the speculative evolution genre, because a lot of those things, a lot of the books and the series and the universes that people are building in that genre are like exploratory things, like documenting the wildlife of the planet and stuff like that. And I love that stuff, but I kind of wanted to tell like a action adventure story in that kind of genre. And I don't know if I've drifted too far away from it because I'm kind of telling my own thing now, but yeah, that was kind of my starting influences and where Humanity Lost kind of comes from. It's, you know, its origins. Yeah,
That's really cool. And yeah, I think I heard about the book you mentioned, Expedition, from the same place I heard about Humanity Lost, which was the channel Curious Archive.
yeah, great channel.
Yeah,
Great
really,
channel.
really enjoyable videos and stuff. And I'll put a link to that and to the book for everyone who wants to check that out in the description. I'll try to link all the relevant media that we discuss, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's really cool. And then, so how do you plan out the story? Is what I want to ask next. Like, first of all, what software do you use? I like to get into the nitty-gritty on this podcast. What kind of software do you use, and how do you format the outline?
Well, so I usually use a like a notepad and a pen and pencil.
Analog,
But
nice.
yeah, yeah. But I also you know, notes. You know, the notes app that comes on your iPad or iPhone. I use that to write down little bits and bobs, and just use the search tool on there to find my specific ramblings that are relevant to whatever page I'm working on. Usually I'll number them. I'll like mention what page I'm talking about or what issue, and I'll use like keywords so I can find, because I have endless notes on just little scenes. Sometimes I like wake up at night and I'm like, oh, I've got a scene on my mind, and then I write it down as quick as I can. And a lot of it's rubbish, but
Hmm.
some of it's all right, you know. And the good stuff sticks. So, or at least I like to think so. So yeah, I just use notes, and then when I have specific ideas for compositions and perhaps moments in scenes, I'll just sketch them down like really like haphazardly in a notebook, and then take a screen grab of that, and then I'll just save it in my camera roll, and then position it on pages in Procreate. You know Procreate?
Oh
Have you
yeah,
used that? Yeah,
that's
that's a great.
yeah, I do all my art in that.
You do, yeah, yeah. It's a great program. So yeah, that's kind of my process. Really, it's not professional, not very organized, but you know, it is what it is, and it works for me. So
That
yeah,
that is the beautiful thing about webcomics is, if it works for you, if it allows you to tell the story you want to tell, then you can do that. You can just do whatever process.
exactly. And that's the great thing about comic books as a medium, is that it could just be like one guy or girl on her own or his own, and you just kind of there's no restriction of like budget. Like you don't have like massive departments working on CGI or anything like that. You know, you can just go for it, and the only limitation is your imagination and your time and your skill. You know, it's great, and it's a very liberating medium, because other than writing, you know, like writing books, I don't see anything comparable that you can actually do this with. It's kind of unique in that respect, especially because it's a visual medium as well. It has that extra element to it, which, you know, literature doesn't on its own, unless you're writing a book with pictures in it.
Yeah.
But then you kind of you're encroaching on comic book territory, and all of the same things stand. So yeah.
On that note, have you ever had a scene or something you had to draw for Humanity Lost where you were just like, oh no, what have I gotten myself into?
Oh, so many, so many. There was one where I had this idea, you know, in issue 6, when spoilers for people, but Deicide is fighting those two Thought Lords. Do you remember that?
What is he doing? He's planning.
He's fighting two of those Thought Lords, the ones that are like sarcophagi.
Yes, yes, I do know.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
in the fight scene, I had this idea where they were going to fire this laser beam down at him, and it was going to refract off his shield and cut down all of the trees around him. And I had it in my head. I was like, wow, that'd be so cool. That'd be an awesome scene. All these trees. And then I had this idea that the panel was going to be framed by the trees being cut in half and kind of midair, like this epic action scene. I was like, yeah, that'd be great. I didn't even think about how I was going to draw it. It's like I got to the page and it's like, wow, how the heck am I going to plan this out? It turned out like organizing all of these objects on a page on different planes, trying to picture them as a moment in time. It was a whole lot of work and
Mhm.
drawing all of those branches, like trees are so hard to draw. So
Yeah,
I kind of found a workaround. I chose like a very like a the light wasn't casting its light on all of the trees. Some of them were just silhouetted. So I managed to kind of get around not drawing every single branch in the forest that way. But yeah, you need to come up with ideas like that to shortcut the artwork because it's very easy to get carried away, especially if you're working in a digital medium where you can zoom in and add all that detail. That's where you kind of need to like put limits on it. You need
yeah.
to say you're not zooming in any more than what you would be able to do with your eyes as close, to a page. So yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's it.
It just feels like so good when you can, put something in silhouette or, find a way that it looks good, but you can save some time. You're like, oh, is this legal?
Yeah.
Am I in trouble for this? I'm
Same
the
with
only.
speed line. Well,
Yeah,
speed line lifesaver, but yeah,
pretty
you need
great.
to be careful not to get carried away with that too much though. And the same with backgrounds. Like I always try to include some kind of background, but it's very easy to just say, "Oh, it's a blank wall," and just a little bit of a gradient behind, and just like call it a day, whatever. But I feel guilty about that. Do you ever feel guilty when you're doing that?
Guess I feel like worried that people are going to like somehow catch on that I'm not a real artist.
No, yeah,
But I'm like, look, this is, I guess I try to look at it like I'm gonna just tell this story. And if,
mm,
cutting a corner here or there means I can tell it in 3 years instead of 10, I'm gonna do that. And it'll still look pretty good. But
yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I'm reading Berserk at the moment. Have you read that?
no, I haven't. I don't really get into like R-rated or magic stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's fair enough. Well, I've just been really getting into it because of Kento Miura's art. Like some of the panels are just ludicrous. Like the amount of detail he puts in.
I don't know what they do to artists over in Japan. I mean, aside from not, but
Yeah, yeah, very true. I mean, this guy's been working on it for like 30 years or something like that, I think. I mean, he's passed away now, so rest in
oh,
peace.
that's
But
sad.
yeah, his artwork is just phenomenal. The early stuff, it's obviously a lot rougher, but I like that. You know, I like seeing that unfinished kind of raw energy in the artwork. And if you read the first issue of Berserk, it's just like, yeah, it's kind of edgy and angsty or whatever, but the energy is really there in the art, in the line, and you can see it in the marks he's laying down. And it's just really inspiring. Once you read something like that, it makes you want to get back to the drawing board and
Yeah.
go out. You know,
It's also encouraging to see, early art, right? Versus like, art that after they've been doing it for like 30 years.
for sure, for sure. And anyone who reads Humanity Lost will see the first issue and be like, wow, this is really not there yet. It wasn't, especially those first few pages. But you can literally see as you're reading through volume one of Humanity Lost, me getting more and more confident with the craft. And kind of, there are like moments in issues where it'll be like 2 or 3 pages and I'll just like completely evolve. Like, I'll just like learn. It's like when you go from not doing art very much at all, like doing it part time, to doing it like literally professionally, like as your job, the amount of time that you can put into your art will just level you up so quickly. You just see it like come leaps and bounds as you go, and it's a really good feeling of just incremental improvement as you go. And I'm sure you've pretty felt that when you're working on Siblings of Steel. As you go from issue to issue, you look back and you see the differences between the last issue and the current one. And sorry if I'm rambling a bit much.
No,
Yeah.
I think most people are here to hear what you have to say, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty not the best time. We've got to fit it in somehow. Time differences and all, but I'm spinning
yeah.
with the house and the wedding and everything.
I really
It's like,
appreciate you, taking the time to come on.
no, dude, of course. Yeah, I mean, you support me on Patreon, and that's like massively grateful for that. So thank you very much. And yeah,
Um,
all my patrons, love you guys.
Thank you. How did you get into drawing? You touched a bit on the expedition book.
Yeah, well, my dad, he's a graphics designer, so he doesn't do much drawing anymore, but he used to be really into drawing. And he used to sit with me as I was like a young boy. And he just used to really like drawing vehicles. He used to like draw like aircraft carriers and fighter jets and stuff like that. And he was really good. And I remember him always trying to teach me techniques. Like he always used to teach me, always used to try to teach me perspective and things like that. And I was just like a young kid, and I was like starting drawing every drawing of like the eye of a character. Or I used to draw like dragons all the time, so I'd like just start by drawing like the wing of a dragon and then figure the rest as I went. And that's just not how you draw, you know. But I wouldn't listen because I was a stubborn kid. So, but eventually I did listen, and I took on board his expertise because yeah, he's a good artist. And he should draw more, but he doesn't. Yeah, I was pretty blessed to have a dad that would sit and draw with me because that got me into it. I never actually studied any kind of academic level. Like I didn't study it in college or anything. Well, I didn't go to university at all. So I didn't study it there. I actually studied like orienteering and public services and law and stuff like that because I thought I wanted to go into that kind of thing. But and then after I left education, I just went into working full time. And after a few years of doing that, I was like, I really don't enjoy this. This is very unfulfilling. And so I was like, I've got to do something to change my circumstances. And I hadn't studied art professionally or anything, but I was getting really into drawing in my spare time because I love doing it. And I figured, why not give this a shot? It might, just give it a go. And I produced a few issues of Humanity Lost that I didn't actually like very much. The quality wasn't there, and so I kind of restarted it multiple times. Went through multiple reboots of the story, and I got to one point where I produced an entire color issue before this current run of Humanity Lost, which was like almost there. It was very close to being there, but I got to the end of it and I was like, I can do better than this. So I just kind of scrapped it and restarted. Maybe one day I'll publish some of those pages in like a deluxe edition or something. I don't know. Maybe that'd be coming on the anniversary of volume 1. Who knows? It's dropping here, people. What was I saying? I was thinking about reboots and stuff. So yeah, I finally started the current one, and voila, all kicked off. And now I'm making it professionally, which is amazing. I never thought I'd be able to do this, but here I am. It's great.
Congrats, man. It's really, it is a quality book. It's a quality.
Thank you. Glad you enjoy it.
Yeah. So is Procreate the only art tool you use, or what other software do you use?
Yeah, it's just Procreate. That's all I use now. For the first volume, it was all traditionally done, and then I'd just scan it in and I'd color it on Procreate. But once that Curious Archive video dropped and my Patreon numbers increased, and I actually had a fair following on there, I needed to keep up my work rates and actually keep new pages coming out regularly. So the method that I did the first volume in was kind of like a conveyor belt. Like I do all of the writing and the penciling and the thumbnails and all the planning in one go. So I did the whole of the volume, the whole 5 issues in one fell swoop. And then I went all the way back to the beginning, and then I inked it. And then after I finished all of it, I went all the way back to the beginning again, and I colored it. So it was a very lengthy process before I actually had a single finished page. You know, it was probably not the best way to do it. It got very efficient though, because when you're doing it, well, you don't color your pages, do you? On
I don't. I shade them.
thing, yeah, it's kind of like coloring. You're adding layers on top, and yeah. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. What was I saying? Coloring. Yeah. So yeah, when you're changing modes, when you're changing modes between inking and coloring, it's kind of a bit of a janky movement. It's kind of hard to like switch roles from inker to colorer. And when I was getting towards the end of each of these processes of coloring issue after issue after issue, I got really like shit hot at coloring, like really, really fast. I was getting the pages, I was just churning them out really quickly. And when it came to going back to doing a different role in producing the comic book, like inking, it was quite hard to to transition into that. But by the end of the process, it was really, really quick again. So I kind of had to find a way to keep getting pages out because I'd accrued a Patreon following and I wanted to retain them. So that's when I transitioned entirely to doing the book on Procreate, because I figured I need to give this a go to see if I can produce stuff like wholly digitally and for it to be on par with the traditional work. And I think it looks as good, if not better. And maybe that's down to my technique improving as an artist and my understanding of anatomy and composition and all that kind of stuff improving. But yeah, I'm really happy with my current process. It's so much quicker than doing things traditionally. And when you're inking pages, you're really scared that you're gonna like drop a bit of ink in the wrong place. And as you approach the end of the page, it gets really scary because you're like, if I mess it up now, then there's nothing I can do about it. But with the digital, you can just backspace or you can erase and you can do all this stuff, and it's great. I really like it. And Procreate's fantastic. Not sponsored or anything, but a fantastic piece of software. I wish they'd sponsor me, that'd be great.
Yeah, sponsorship. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say no. Yeah, you get pages out at a right good clip.
Yeah. I think it's like 3 days for a single page. So I consider that a good page. Maybe 2 if it's like a really basic page, but yeah. And then 4 or 5 if it's like
you're like, well, this issue takes place in pocket dimension. It's a blank void, no backgrounds. Yes. No, that doesn't happen, but
I'd be guilty if I was doing that, to be honest. Slave driver.
We're moving in a new direction. They're all designed like Adventure Time characters.
Just interesting.
It just changes mid-issue. Okay. So what are some tips you have for developing unique aliens and planets? How do you go about doing that?
Well, I haven't done for a while because I've kind of established all of the main races that are in the book. But how I used to go about it is I would think about the environment first. Like I decide how high or low the gravity is relative to Earth, what the atmospheric composition is, how far or close it is from its host star or stars. And then from there, you can just kind of start brainstorming on what kind of features would arise to adapt to that environment, and then think about what animal species exist on Earth already, because, you can't beat nature. Nature has some of the craziest designs you could ever think of. So you can kind of start coming up with chimeric adaptations, chimeric creations, mixing multiple advantageous features from different species and create something new. Merge it all together with some new crazy ideas, maybe a unique feature, like with the gourd. They're kind of the craziest alien species I've come up with, where it's essentially a sentient beehive, where the eyes, the ears, and the hands of the gourd are a separate species, like an insect species of drones, and the core is it's like a plant-like race, which is the central structure. But the brain, there is no brain. The brain, like the intelligence of the gourd, exists in the symbiosis between these two species, which is something incredibly alien to us, And so I've taken pretty basic things from nature, like hive insects and plant life, and the way in which animals kind of symbiotically behave towards each other to benefit one another, and then I've thrown in some kind of other third rail, and it's create a new alien. So that's kind of the process. You kind of create these Frankenstein monsters of existing things, and then mix it up with stuff that doesn't exist. So yeah, that's how I create aliens. That's the process.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks like Zoom is telling me we've got 5 minutes left before it just kills this meeting.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, it's getting kind of late, so
yeah.
maybe it's a good point to end it and say goodnight.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
want to, keep you on too long. I'd love to have you back sometime because
Yeah, I'll come anytime, man.
yeah. So that's been Callum Diggle, everyone.
Nice
Created
one.
Humanity Lost. You should totally check it out and support him on Patreon because he's got all the awesome pages, all available in nice little PDFs and work in progress stuff and all kinds of coolness. So I'll link that in the description. Thank you for watching, everybody. I've been Callum Quinn, your handsome podcast host. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.